Ladies and gentlemen, the bloodbath in the stock market has started. It's no longer just maybe it will happen because it has already happened. What's going to happen ahead? What should we do? What's Mr. Lu going to do? Or what's Mr. Lu doing right now? Today, I'll answer all these questions. And more importantly, please remember to hit like and subscribe as you get signal to see what I'm doing. Let's watch on, shall we? So these are my usual disclaimers. Remember, this for education information only, not financial advice, not telling you when to buy, when to sell, what to buy, what to sell. So in a unusual but expected turn of event, Donald Trump flip-flops again. So what did he do this time? So Donald Trump paused many tariffs for Canada and Mexico until April the 2nd again, just a few days after it was implemented. Now, what's going on? So he granted some temporary tariff exemption for Canadian and Mexico goods covered under the North American Trade Agreement known as the USMCA. Actually, many of these agreements were signed by him during his first term. So right now, about 50% of Mexico imports and 38% of Canadian imports are now covered by this trade agreement. And he will delay it by 1 month. And clearly, right, he knows now that, a lot of people are crying murder in US, and he knows that all these have implications to cost of living and cost of production in US. And that's why he is now moving back by 1 month. Now, what will happen after 1 month, nobody will know, right? But this is his intention. He will continue to hit tariffs on all these countries in what we call reciprocal tariffs on April the 2nd. And we shall see what's going to go on later. And in the words of a Canadian Prime Minister, he said it was a colorful conversation. And after that conversation, I don't think much happened. But I think what was clear is that Donald Trump realized that his country is being hit terribly, and he actually rescinded on some of these tariffs for 1 month. Uniquely under this US-Mexico-Canadian agreement, things like television, air conditioner, avocado, beef, all these were now being relaxed of the tariffs. Now, the Canadian are not made of tofu, so they hit back, and they hit back really hard. So Ontario Premier actually slapped a 25% surcharge on US-bound electricity. So 3 cities are being hit: New York, Michigan, Minnesota. About 1.4 million households will now have to pay 25% surcharge. And you need to take note, in US and in Europe, their electricity bill is not like Singapore. Singapore, we have it easy. Or Malaysia, even easier. But in US, because of heating, they need to provide heating because it's winter weather. The fees goes up by a lot. So 25% is a very big number. And he actually said that, Ontario Premier actually said that, I don't want to do this, but because you do this to me, Lim Pei gonna hit back at you, okay? To hell with you, and I will not move back on these tariffs until US, you remove every tariffs. So even though US has actually delayed some of these tariffs, he's not going to do anything. So I'm going to hit US really hard. US will feel the pain of some of these retaliatory action by Canada. So the stock market continue to free fall. So from the peak of the Nasdaq to now is about 10% already. So we are in correction territory. S&P 500 is probably about 6%, and I don't think this is the end of it. So it is now at a 4-month low, and I think it will continue to slide as long as things don't improve on the trade war side of things. So I know terminology matters to a lot of you guys: crash, correction, depression, recession, all this. But we are right now in a major downturn, and Nasdaq is already hitting 10%. And that's just the beginning. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do largely 2 things. I'm going to say what I'm going to do right now, and then later at the end of the video, I'm going to say the second thing I'm going to do. Things are fluid by the hour, literally by the hour. I'm watching the things live going on by the hour. Next minute, this thing happened. That minute, flip-flop, this thing happened. Next minute, some hope happened. And then next minute, no hope happened. That kind of thing. This is clearly a sign of indecisiveness of the US Trump administration, and that led a huge amount of chaos throughout the whole world. What I'm doing right now is I'm assembling my dry powder to be armed and ready to fire, which means that I'm now looking through where all the dry powder are in my arsenal. Some of you may have organized it very well. I don't think I do organize it very well. I'm looking to where some of this dry powder are, trying to pull out, open up the rice bin and see whether, the rice jar inside have some more dry powder inside. I'm really ready to fire. And you should click subscribe to see some of these developments so that you don't miss out on exciting or more importantly, a time critical, mission critical news that will come out. So please remember, hit subscribe. So in a very interesting word that Donald Trump says, he knows that the stock market is free falling, and reporters ask him in the Oval Office, what do you have to say about it? You know what he does? He blamed globalists for this whole sell-off. What on earth is globalist? Actually, I checked the media, a lot of people are asking what the hell is globalist. So he basically blamed everybody except himself. So we are reaching a state where I would like to say USA stand for you xiao ah, that kind of thing, right? It's a very unusual thing. I think there is a lot of good intention that Donald Trump started when he wanted to do all these things. But now, with all this reaction, I think there's a lot of kalang kabo right now. And I think he's really maybe firefighting, I would say. So The Economist actually wrote, Donald Trump's economic delusions are already hurting America. So the president's intention to make America great again, also known as MAGA, is actually making America weak again. So let's take a look what I mean by that. So I think there's an increasing fear throughout the whole right now that recession is coming. Economists are increasingly worried. There is falling retail sales in US. There's a lot of layoffs in US. And when people are laid off, what do? They cut back on their spending. And the stock market is now going down significantly. And all these are pointing towards falling consumer confidence and producers' confidence as well. Many signals are now indicating that 2025 has an elevated recession risk. So Wall Street banks says that market are flashing signs of rising US recession risk. And I'll show you one or two of this signal. So the inverting yield curve is now happening again. I won't go into detail what this is because just to explain this takes a long time. But basically, this is a sign that recession is happening. And I think in history, only 1 out of 10 times that the inverted yield curve produced a wrong results. The Atlanta GDP have just adjusted their Q1 estimate again to negative 2.4% versus 2.8. It doesn't matter. It's still negative, which basically means that there is recessionary fears. A model from JP Morgan Chase have also indicated that the probability of economic downturn has climbed 31%. And Goldman Sachs has also a similar model that has also predicted, that there is a rise of recession to 23%. Fed's Hawker, a CEO of Philadelphia Federal Reserve, also warned that there is waning business confidence and rising inflation rates in US. So everywhere is sparkling, warning right now. Is actually quite serious. So President Donald Trump clearly is shaking a lot of consumer confidence in February, and now I'm sure in March as well. So he thinks that whatever he do will have very short-term pain, but will have long-term gain in making US great again. I'm not too sure that will be the case when he sees all this economy crashing in a big way. Remember, in 1929, you may not know it, the world, after the great crash of October, headed right into a recession and then became a depression. The whole world pulled back on all their trade and become very protectionistic. And that causes the entire global economy to go down severely. Layoffs are increasing. Some of them are caused by a downturn in the economy, but some of them were self-inflicted by DOGE, which is Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, just massively lay off a lot of people. And this has terrible implications to consumer confidence as well. So the layoffs in February is at 172,000, up 200%. And this is one of the highest since July 2020. One third of them comes from Elon Musk's efforts to reduce federal headcount. What he's done is, I can't say it's wrong, but I say the speed that he does it is very brutal, and not just brutal to the people, but brutal to the economy as well. This is a photo of staff from US Agency for International Development that has been retrenched, and clearly this is not a good picture. So what does this mean for Singapore? I watched Minister Vivian Balakrishnan's speech in the parliament, and I watched it actually a few times to understand where the macro geopolitical directions are heading. I will just say this, that it's not going to look good. So US tariffs probably won't hit Singapore. I'm not sure whether it hits Malaysia, but it's surely that won't hit Singapore because we don't really have a surplus from US and we pay them more than pay us. But it certainly has a high chance of slowing down growth. Unemployment could edge up as everybody pulls back on their spending globally. Even Deputy Prime Minister Gan Kim Yong also said that Singapore growth is likely to slow down because of trade tension. And there is right now a lot of trade friction and competition for strategic investment. So a lot of companies are forced to invest in US. And as a result, it's a zero-sum game. If you invest in US, you got to pull back from somewhere. And the fact that everybody is becoming protectionistic, a lot of the trade volumes will go down as well. Singapore, whose GDP is only one-third that of trade, will be hit. Right now, the economy is projected to increase by 1 to 3%, slower than the 4.4% in 2024. So every analyst I looking at Singapore, everybody believe that we will be hit in a collateral way or directly through all these trade tariffs. And this is really going to be painful for us. The analogy that Vivian Balakrishnan actually said is, when two elephants fight, the grass will get trampled. And that's exactly what we are. We are just grass. And I think he also mentioned something quite interesting that our founding prime minister said, when two elephants make love, the grass will also get trampled. So right now we have got US, China, Canada, Mexico, everybody all fighting, and clearly we get trampled. But now you have got US and Russia getting aligned, and we still get trampled as well. So it's not good news. So how bad can it go? The global economy, for Singapore, for the world, for the stock market. Let me give you a few scenarios based on my training as an economist and a world watcher. And this is what I think it is. Number one point I want to say is, there is no good scenario that will come out of this, or bad. The question is now, how bad? The bad scenario number one is global recession. Well, we have already seen all this prediction by everybody, but this is not the worst. So scenario one of global recession is very possible to happen, but this is not the worst. The worst is global recession with inflation. As everybody pulls back, inflation shoots up, and this is what we call stagflation. I mentioned this before in 2022. Now the stagflation risk is happening. That means the world economy becomes stagnant, and there's inflation that comes with it. Stagflation in the history of the world only happened, if I recall, once in the 1970s, where there's an oil crisis. The oil prices shoots up, there's rising inflation, and then there is tremendous pullback in productivity as well. I think there's a high chance we head towards this. When this happens, that is a very, very bad signal, because the Federal Reserve cannot do much to save recession and inflation, because they all go in different directions for interest rates. In a global recession or stagflation, Singapore will be hit badly. So would Malaysia, by the way. So this is a bad scenario number three, where everybody is being hit on a global space and we get hit terribly as well. So these will have terrible implications on a lot of things: income, employment, property prices, stock prices, and rental income. For those people who think that our property prices will go up forever, we shall see. I'm not sure. We shall see. And that's all bad scenarios that is happening. So as I said, things are fluid by the hour. They change rapidly right now. The news reporter that I'm watching all over, some of them are in fatigue because they say that I just done a news report, write a news article, and things change again. So the key right now is to watch very carefully for a tariff ceasefire signal and also the Federal Reserve reaction to all this. I'll be watching this very carefully, and the minute the signal comes out, I'll inform everybody. So please remember to click subscribe so that you'll be informed real time for all these things to happen. I've told you I'm going to do one thing earlier. Now I'm going to tell you the second thing. So the most important advice I'm going to tell everybody is brace for impact and a wild ride. There is impact and then there's a wild ride. That's usually you only be hit by one and not two, but this time there's two. I am not bailing out right now. Okay. I'm in the opinion that things can possibly recover very quickly or crash drastically. So basically, you can't predict what's going to happen. I've already accumulated dry powder. I'm not bailing out. I'm just watching. And I think this is a very important thing to take note that the future is very difficult to predict. We cannot see where we are and react according to this. So thank you for watching. I hope that you follow me closely, and I'll see you in a day or two. Bye-bye.